We live in a world that's just noisy, right? It feels like we're being pulled in a million different directions all at once. There are so many opinions, so many philosophies, all fighting for our attention. It can get pretty overwhelming. But what if there was an ancient guidebook, one designed to cut right through all that noise? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore today. The Shikshapatri, a classical text that lays out a clear framework for a righteous life. So, how do you find your way through all that? That's the big question. And this is where the Shikshapatri comes in. It's not about vague, fuzzy advice. No, it gets super specific, giving you actionable rules for navigating everything from your own inner thoughts to your social circles and even your tiny daily habits. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about what you let into your head, guarding your mind. Then we'll look at the people you hang out with, the company you keep. After that, we dive into some tricky stuff: truth, lies, and harm. Then we get to the big why, the nature of God. And finally, we'll see how all this big picture stuff boils down to your everyday life. Okay, first things first, guarding your mind. The whole idea here is that a good life, a righteous life, starts with what you're feeding your brain. It's all about being a gatekeeper for knowledge and influence, because let's be real, not all teachers or teachings are on the same level. And the text draws a really sharp line in the sand. On one side, you've got a true teacher. This is someone who's all about their dharma, they've got their senses in check. But on the other side, the false teacher. They might be charming, sure, but their endgame is, well, it's about them. It's about building their own little kingdom, even if it pulls you off the right path. So the message is crystal clear. Be smart about who you're listening to. And that same filter applies to what you read, too. The Shikshapatri points to these specific texts called Satshastras, which basically means true scriptures. These are the books that are going to guide you towards dharma and devotion. You can kind of think of it as the ultimate approved reading list for living a righteous life. So we've filtered our books, we've filtered our teachers, but what about our friends? That brings us to our next big idea, the company you keep. Because according to this text, who you surround yourself with is just as important, maybe even more important, than the ideas you study. There's this amazing quote from the Hansa Gita that just nails it. Man becomes colored by the nature he associates with. Wow. I mean, think about that. You literally soak up the qualities of the people around you. Your social circle isn't just a social circle. It's actively shaping who you are. And because of that, the text gives us this surprisingly long list of people to maybe keep at arm's length. And it's not just the obvious ones, like thieves or whatever. We're talking about hypocrites, cruel people, the deceitful, and get this, even the ungrateful. They're called krutikness. The text is so intense on this point, it says even devils wouldn't want to touch an ungrateful person. The takeaway is pretty stark. Protect your own character by being super mindful of who you're with. All right, let's get into something a little more complex: truth, lies, and harm. It's easy to say always tell the truth, but real life is messy, right? It's not always that black and white. To even begin to unpack this, we have to understand one crucial concept: Ahimsa, nonviolence. And this isn't just another rule on the list. No, it's considered the foremost dharma, the number one duty. Basically, every other ethical rule gets filtered through this lens of not causing harm. So right away, you see this really interesting tension. On one side, truth is held up as this incredible ideal. It's the foundation of everything. But on the other side, the text says, hey, sometimes lying is okay. And when is it okay? Almost every single time, it's to prevent harm. It's when Ahimsa kicks in. So nonviolence actually trumps absolute 100% truth-telling. Pretty deep, right? So how do you square that circle? Well, the text gives us this incredible definition from Nard Muni to tie it all together. Truth is that which acts for the welfare of all beings. There it is. The most truthful thing you can do is the most compassionate thing. It completely reframes what honesty even means. Okay, so we have all these rules about our minds, our friends, our actions, but why? What's holding it all up? To get that, we have to look at the foundation. We're diving into the theology now, the nature of God. So the text tackles this huge debate. Is God nirakar, formless, pure energy, or sakar, having a form? And while it totally acknowledges the formless aspects, the Shikshapatri comes down pretty firmly on the idea that God also has a divine personal form, a form that is the upholder of dharma. And to help us wrap our heads around this, it gives us this perfect analogy. Think about the sun. The sun itself is a specific thing in a specific place, right? But its light, its rays are everywhere. They touch everything. The text says God is like that, residing in a divine place, but also totally omnipresent throughout the entire universe. And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. The text actually gives a kind of roadmap for how a yogi can experience this directly. It's a three-step process of going inward. First, you get your senses under control. Then, you focus your mind inside your soul, your Atma. And if you can do that, you can have a direct vision, a darshan, of God right there inside your own heart. Okay, so we've talked about these huge cosmic ideas. But what does any of this have to do with, Tuesday? How does it translate to our daily lives? That's what our final section is all about. Purity in daily life. This is where we see how tiny actions can have massive consequences. There are a bunch of rules, but let's focus on two that really highlight the core principle. Rule 1, never drink unfiltered water or milk. Rule 2, never bathe in or use water that you know is full of tiny living things. So, filtering water. Sounds simple, maybe even a little strange. Why is this so important? Well, the consequence for breaking this rule is kind of shocking, and it's measured in a very specific time frame: 6 months. So what's with the 6 months? Here it is. The text says that drinking unfiltered water just one time creates the same amount of sin as a fisherman's work over a full 6 months. And this has nothing to do with germs or modern science. This is Ahimsa in its most extreme form, showing compassion and nonviolence to even the tiniest microscopic creatures you can't even see. So when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway? The main thing to understand about the Shikshapatri is that it's all one interconnected system. It's not a list of suggestions you can pick and choose from. What you believe about God connects directly to your ethics, which connects to who your friends are, which connects to the tiny, everyday act of filtering your water. It's all woven together into one single path for righteous living. And that really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? In our crazy modern world, how can an ancient guy like this, one that's built on such deep mindfulness and compassion, help inform the choices we're making right here, right now?